Climate change is caused by global warming, which is a positive feedback loop. It is a process where the Earth heats up over time. It starts out with greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide or methane, being released into the atmosphere. The emitted greenhouse gases become part of the atmosphere and make it thicker. So when the sunlight strikes the Earth's surface and is later radiated off as infrared heat, it gets reflected by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Instead of being released into outer space, this heats up the environment. The Earth's climate has changed throughout the course of history. In the last 6,500,000 years, there have been 7 cycles of glacial advance and retreat, and the abrupt end of the last ice age about 7,000 years ago marks the beginning of the modern climate era. Most of these climates are attributed to very small variations in Earth's orbit that change the amount of solar energy our planet receives. Historical records show that climate system varies naturally over a long period of time. In general, climate change prior to the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s can be explained by natural causes, such as changes in solar energy, volcanic eruptions, and natural changes in greenhouse gas levels. Recent climate change, however, cannot be explained by natural causes alone. Research indicates that natural causes are very unlikely to explain most observed warming, especially warming since the mid-20th century. Rather, human activities can very likely explain most of the warming. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, climate change is being caused by human activities. These activities include greenhouse gas and aerosol emissions from burning fossil fuels and modifications of the land surface, such as deforestation. Unlike before, the climate change is more extreme and is human-induced. Carbon dioxide emitted from the burning of fossil fuels is presently the largest single climate-forcing agent, accounting for more than half of the total positive forcing since 1750. Since the 1750s, carbon dioxide has been the #1 greenhouse gas being emitted into the atmosphere.
It is found that indigenous cultural groups who are not susceptible to industrialization, which results in global climate change, try to protect their environments more than cultures that are susceptible to industrialization, like the already developed countries. As globalization and modernization pulls its reach on many different cultural groups, people become more susceptible to forgetting where their products produced by industrialization come from. Rising temperatures as a result of global climate change can lead to shortages of water supplies and inadequate soil, leading to famines. The fact that culture is a product of agriculture and that a food surplus leads to people focusing on other things shows that as the climate changes and food surpluses are unable to sustain growing populations, the cultures of the world will become threatened as populations will be forced to not do anything but sustain themselves. Political scientists say that the increasing threat of global climate change will lead to the development of widespread and efficient policies that will help curb global climate change. Nations both developed and underdeveloped have to adapt to the transformations of global climate change, some more than others. It is found that states that are less developed and states that are more developed suffer more rifts in social classes, which will eventually lead to widespread conflict as a result from global climate change, as nations are unable to cope with their environmental problems. According to the 1997 Human Development Report, the world is rapidly changing, with the globalization and liberalization of the world economy, with the rise of new conflicts, with the spread of HIV and AIDS, with the steady deterioration of environmental resources, with demographic changes, with the failures of economic growth in sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean and the Arab states, and with the transition to free market economic systems and democratic government. All this change puts added stress on the lives of people, and the people who already suffer deprivation in many aspects of their lives suffer most. This shows that depending on the state, the resources may become overstretched as rising temperatures and climate changes in certain areas can affect a state's ability to function. Dealing with these can also overstretch a nation's ability to deal with other things, such as dealing with social and economic problems in their countries.
One day, we will wake up to find that the energy that powers the alarm clock came from the breeze through the trees the night before. And we will go to work that morning riding the rays of the sun. It will light our cities and power our businesses. It will warm our homes and cool our workplaces. It will reduce sources of conflict and fuel our economies. It will connect us all. It won't scar the land or poison the seas. The food we eat will be good for our bodies and good for the planet. And the weather that day won't make us worry for tomorrow. There will be more jobs and less disease. The sea level will stop rising. And species will stop dying. The question is, how do we get to that day from where we are today? All 7.3 billion of us. We start by deciding that beyond our doubts and differences, such a day truly exists. And that is something each of us can do today. We can make today the day we stop thinking that the changes required to get there are impossible and beyond us, and start realizing that they are not only possible, but what the future requires of us. We must stop turning from the warnings of science and fear and denial, and instead turn toward the solutions and partnerships we need. We can make today the day we stop pointing at each other in blame, and instead chart a new course together. We have never faced a crisis this big, but we have never had a better opportunity to solve it. We have everything we need to wake up to a different kind of world. We need our leaders to be brave and their choices to be bold. They will either remember us as the generation that destroyed its home, or the one that finally came to respect it. We have every reason in the world to act. We can't wait until tomorrow. This is our only home. You can choose today to make a world of difference.